What is going on, people? The game is here, the replay, because if you're watching this and you missed the live game, bro, you missed out on something magical. Okay, we had 2,000 people watching that game live, which was ridiculous. 2,000 people in the lobby. There's probably like 2,500 3,000 people altogether. It was nuts. Like, this shit was crazy. The lobby was going crazy. I really recommend you watch a live version, because I know a bunch of people recorded this live. One in particular will be Dockerich. I'll post his link or whatever, but he always uploads live tournament replays. So if you want to see a live with all the hype and all that shit, I recommend you watch that too. But anyway, this is gonna be the breakdown of the game. God of Oras CBB versus Big Bad Blunder. We played on some crazy alts because, you know, we had to really milk this shit as much as we could. So yeah, we actually decided we were gonna name ourselves this like a couple days ago. But let's get into the teams. I brought this team last week. I didn't bring it again because it's disrespectful. The only disrespectful part about this is that it's actually CBB's own team. But CBB gave me this team last week because I needed it, and I really liked the team. I was like, yo, let me play with this team. I trusted a lot. I know he did make the team, but I don't know. I really trust this team. I think it's the best team I've probably ever used in Oras. At least for my playstyle, I think it's like the greatest team I've ever used. I am very confident with it. So I knew even though he'd know the team, it would be fine, because I mean, I have a lot of batshit broken mons too, like Metagross, Keldeo, all that shit, and then Jellicent, because I knew CBB loves Keldeo. So looking at CBB's team, that team is a heat of fajita team if I've ever seen one. Empoleon, Volk. Now looking at the matchup, I was like, alright, Volk is gonna be a bitch, and so is Serp. I was like, I need to look out for those two. The rest of the shit, I was like, alright, I'm not too worried. But I knew Volk and Serp had the potential to be very annoying, because Sub-Seed Serp can like beat Heatran, which is annoying. So yeah, let's hop into the game. Honestly, first glance, I was like, this is an offense versus offense matchup. I'm not gonna be able to carve it out from turn one. Maybe if I was playing versus balance, I could. But I knew looking at the matchup that this was a game that I was going to have to really just kind of like look like 2 or 3 turns ahead, but kind of play as I go as well, because again, the matchup is extremely volatile. Like, shit can die like every turn because we have some strong ass mons. I'm gonna lead off with Keldeo as he leads off with his. Now turn one, I was thinking, okay, will he risk the specs whatever turn one if that's it? And I was thinking to myself, okay, the odds of him going for specs Focus Blast are decent if he thinks I will risk it, but I do have the Jellicent in the back, and I know CBB likes specs HP Grass Keldeo. That's actually what I'm using here. So I figured, okay, he could go for specs HP Grass, and then the other like side, I was thinking, okay, look, if I lose the speed type, I'm gonna take a lot of damage, and then Volk, who I'm fairly sure does not have Giga Drain, because you don't really need Giga Drain on Volcarona. HP Ground is a must-have because you gotta kill Heatran, so I knew it was gonna be that. And then I figured Fire Blast, HP Ground, Bug Buzz would make the most sense for his set. So I figured that was gonna be the Volk. But turn one, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. He's more likely than not either gonna Specs HP Grass or chip me for damage. So I go right for the Specs Focus Blast to knock this thing out. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit, so it would have died, but I missed, which it is what it is because it's fucking Focus Blast. But he goes for Secret Sword turn one, does 48. Secret Sword doing less than half reveals that he is for sure Scarf, so I was like, okay, makes sense. Now here he makes a strong play. He knows I'm going to go into my Jellicent, so he goes into his Landers T. He's going to be able to put those rocks up here as I go for the Scald, which does a decent amount, and I was like, okay, here he goes for the HP Ice, and I was like, what the hell, Life Orb HP Ice, and that did 10%, which means it's max special attack, which is funny, because I actually used this exact set in Sun Moon, in a Smogon Tour quarterfinals game. I had Life Orb, max special attack, HP Ice Landorus with rocks, thinking it was the end all to catch the other Landorus T's on the Switch, but he goes for HP Ice. I assume expecting like a knockoff, expecting me to expect like an earthquake or something and take a lot of damage, but I just go for the Wisp knowing I can recover that off. He goes into Serp here as I go into Keldeo here, because I didn't want him getting any free turns. Like, that was like, if I stayed in there, for one, I knew he wasn't gonna sack the Landorus T there because that doesn't make sense. He has free switch-ins, so I was thinking I'm gonna go into my Keldeo to see, like, just to catch something. I also don't want to go into my own Landorus T in case he HP Ices again, blah blah blah. That was like my thought process as he goes into his Serp. So I was like, all right, that's annoying. He doubles into Keld here as I go into Heatran, and I was like, okay, well, looking at it, I have my own Jellicent, so that's like the Jellicent factor, that if you click one of Keldeo's stab moves into Jellicent, it's annoying because now I'm able to throw out a Will-O-Wisp or a double switch or blah. The mind game, that's why Jellicent's a great mon in Oras, because it plays the mind game with Keldeo, which is really nice. Now I know this is Scarf, so I know that it's possible that he could have some kind of like he's gonna go for Toxic this turn, but I did not know for a fact he's going for toxic. I was under the impression that he was going to predict my Jellicent. That's what I was thinking. And I also knew in the back of my head that if he wanted to go for an attack here, I can live all of the attacks because I'm Spadef, Heatran. Heatran doesn't die to Scald, Secret Sword, or Hydro. So I stay in. He goes for the Toxic, trying to catch my Jellicent. If I went to Jellicent there, this could have been a really tough game because it would have stopped Jellicent from being able to check late game Keldeo as well as Volk. So I definitely got in a really good situation here by not letting my Jellicent take damage and basically getting up free rocks. He's going to pull up into Empoleon now as I'm going to Lava Plume now. I see 32% and no leftovers, so I was like, oh my god, you got to be kidding me. Offensive Empoleon, and I know CBB, and I know that Empoleon is going to be maxed speed, timid nature. Like, I just know for sure it's going to be that. So I was thinking to myself, okay, no leftovers shown. It's probably Shuckleberry, which would make the most sense on a mon like this to lure in the ground moves, eat it up, and then fire back off with a Hydro Pump or Ice Beam. I immediately knew it was Shucka when I saw no no leftovers. But yeah, here I know I have to switch out. I need to keep that shit for Serp as he Hydros into my Jellicent. So I was like, okay, this shit's strong as hell. I go into Hydreigon here expecting the Defog or the Grass Knot as he just goes for that. I believe I double into Keldeo here expecting a sack, but he makes a great play, goes into Keldeo. Now the reason I didn't Dark Pulse there or just whatever is because I didn't want him to sack something and start getting to pop in with Volk. I really didn't want that series of plays to start, which is why I made that play. Anyway, CBB makes a really nice play here as it's Keldeo versus Keldeo. He knows I'm not going to want to stay in, so he makes a really nice play into Serp, and I was like, oh shit, alright bro, I see you. I go into Heatran here. The block is hot. I bring Heatran every week, and I always call it the block is hot. I'm Spadef, so Leaf Storm does nothing. He goes for Hidden Power here, and I was like, HP ground, which, you know, it makes sense on this team. Like, I get it. It's good for, you know, luring in Tran for Volk and shit like that. And plus, I have a huge Tran boner. So here I go into my Landers T thinking CBB does not have the sauce. He is not going to Leaf Storm again. But he said, fuck out of here, dude. He hits me with the Leaf Storm on the switch, and I was like, alright, shit. So 15 turns the first kill. I was like, that was a good play. Now here, I do have Pursuit. CBB knows I have Pursuit. Oh, Eddie Kane shot Young Dolph. That was the song I was listening to during my game. Eddie Kane by Young Dolph. Fun fact. But yeah, I knew I couldn't Pursuit here. While it would be like a good play, get rid of the Serp, it's not like a play that I need to make this turn. Also, I will lose if he HP grounds here. Like, I will literally lose the game. So I just go for Bullet Punch as he brings in his Empoleon, and I was like, okay, this is for sure Shuckleberry. Back into Jellicent here. As he goes into Landers T. Now, this play was amazing on his part because he's able to get up rocks. This was an amazing play on CBB's part. I was very impressed with this play. I was like, damn. Like, that's a fucking play. Like, that was a really nice play. Like, we both, like, he knew I was going to expect the Shuckleberry. Thus, he knew he could switch into Landers T. Like, when he made this play, I was like, holy shit. Like, I had to take a second because I was like, wow. Like, I just got really, like, played. So he's able to put his Suicide Rocks up here. I know he's going to go for them, so I go into Metagross. I go into Metagross because I don't want him getting that Cert back in for free or any of that bullshit. I really don't want to deal with that. As he goes back into Empoleon, I switch into Keldeo here, I believe. Yes, as he Hydros, and it does 31. Here, I go for the Scald. Yes, because I didn't want to risk Focus Blast because I didn't want Volk to set up. And I didn't want to Hydro because it doesn't make a difference if I Hydro or I Scald. Because, like, Empoleon lives both. And I just want damage on Empoleon so that Metagross can knock it out. Because if you're looking at the matchup right now, yo, Metagross is looking like a threat. Metagross is looking like a big threat to his team at this point. But anyway, I go into Jellicent here expecting him to go for the Bullet Punch, I believe. Sorry, this just froze because it's Chrome. And Chrome has a problem right now. With alright, so you're gonna have to give this a second. I'm sorry for this long ass narration, by the way. 9 minutes. White screen, bro. I need you to pull up the game right now. Chrome, please pull up the game. No, I was recording this. You cannot be serious. Holy shit, you cannot be serious. Okay, cool. We're back, I guess. Let me go to turn 21. Okay. So I switch into Jellicent here on the Bullet Punch, knowing it's coming out. Now here I know a possible Zen will come out, so I go into my Hydreigon here, and unfortunately he does go for Zen. Now here I'm doubling out because one, I assumed he would go for the Mash or the Ice Punch, and I didn't want to sack Hydreigon yet because it's one of the, because I can't get low on sacks, which is one thing. Like, if I get low on sacks, it's gonna get frustrating, and I'm not throwing this thing out for free. So I make my double into Metagross, which works out pretty nicely. And he's just gonna sack this to bullet punch. At this point, I knew bullet punch was the right play because, like, the best move he can hit me with is HP ground, right? And that'll do like 30% to Metagross max. So I know in the, like, CBB's head he's thinking he doesn't even have to bullet punch here. But I figured he's gonna stay in. I don't need to take extra damage. He goes back into this shit. I go into my Hydreigon as he pumps, does 30%. I believe I double out again into my Heatran. Last ditch effort to get up rocks, but CBB makes a good play. Honestly, it was impossible for me to get up rocks from that situation, I realized. Because Keldeo would have killed me, Metagross would have killed me, Volk has HP ground. This is, yeah, so I realized, fuck it. Like, but I just didn't want to keep my Hydreigon in. Because if I keep it in, the Volk has an opportunity to set up. And I was like, I just don't want to give that shit any chances. Because then I'm going to lose. So I go into this as he hammer arms. Now, CBB told me this was the one play he regretted. He told me he regrets this play because he thinks he should have bullet punched. Because had he bullet punched, he wouldn't have been lowered speed. And it would have stopped me from being able to go into my Metagross next turn and trapping this. Which is exactly what I do because he hammer armed. So he bullet punches for a little bit of chip. I trap his ass. And that's that. He's now going to go back into the Empoleon, this bastard Mon, dude. As I'm going to go into Heatran here as he Hydro Pumps, knocks me out. I'm going to go into my Keldeo here because I figured at this point I just win. Well, no, I don't win, but I have a good chance to win if I'm able to get off a decent amount of damage here. So I go for the Hydro Pump. I didn't have to pump here. Like, I don't think pump here was like the best play. Scald was probably the right play, but I miss. I mean, I didn't kill, but it did enough to where I could Pursuit Trap it. Oh, that's why I Hydro. It's like a Pursuit Trap it. But I double here into my Jellicent as he Hydro Pumps. The reason I made that play was to get a little bit of HP back because I knew he was just going to stay in. I just wanted a little bit of HP back because I was worried. I Scald here on the switch to Messiah. Now, if I go into Metagross here, he could be in a shitty situation, so he goes back into Empoleon as I taunt. The reason I taunted, I actually just, with my finger, did the taunt animation in real life. I'm too hype. I taunted here. Because well, first I knew he couldn't touch me besides Toxic. So if he does Toxic, I get to free switch it back into Metagross, and that brings its own mind games up. Because if I Scald on the switch to Empoleon, if he tries to catch my Metagross, I get the appropriate damage to where Earthquake kills, etc., etc. So I taunted just in case, you know, he did make that double. I just didn't want to switch out there. And plus, if he was trying to go into Volk on like some kind of free turn, you know, like that's the situation we were dealing with. Anyway, he Scalds here as I go for a recover, and now I was like, oh, okay, he's trying to sack it and then get it popping with Volk. I get it now. So I'm gonna taunt here, I believe. Yes. He Scalds again as, what do? Do I taunt again? Yup, I keep taunting. And now here I'm gonna go hard into my Metagross because I cannot have Volk come in on me. So I go into Metagross on the Scald. Fortunately, no burn. That shit dies. He's gonna go into Empoleon. Now here is the turn of the game. So if I go into Jellicent on Hydro Pump, I win the game. I think, well, it comes down to a lot of rolls with Scald because I think CBB told me he had odds to live. I go for Zen Headbutt here on this turn. Earthquake I know does not kill. I know there is the possibility that he does make the double into Volk. Well, because I know the Volk is grassless, but even then I wasn't sure, and I'll keep it 100%. I also know Zen Headbutt has a 20% flinch chance. So I know in the back of my head, like, that shit might come into hand. Like, okay, I know, like, that's a possibility. I just know Earthquake is not the play here. So I know that my plays are either go into Jellicent or Zen Headbutt. As I Zen Headbutt as he switches, and that basically seals the game up. This was a good game. It was definitely hype. I know CBB told me that he wishes he made that one play different when he bullet punched, when he hammer armed my Tran. He told me he wished he told me when he hammer armed my Heatran and I went to Hydreigon on the sack, he told me that was really obvious and he wished I went for he wished he went for the bullet punch. That way he didn't get trapped by my Metagross, which would have definitely changed the game because this shit would have had no health. So, but yeah, I'm able to run away with it. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching this. I have a lot of people I need to shout out for making this possible, like a shit ton. Top tier boy, first of all, for making that, like, the song video with like 24 hours notice. Like, I really appreciate that. Thank you also for making one of the trailers. Shout out to NJMP for making one of the trailers. Shout out to CTC for making a song for this in, again, less than a day. See if CTC doesn't make his own songs, but he made one for this. I'm very thankful. Who else? Cedrits, thank you for helping me coordinate this in the OU room. Thank you to Techless, who I believe got this shit popping in the French room. Thank you to everybody who retweeted and sent me memes. That was amazing. Thank you to IN or EN and Pearl. I'm not sure how to say it, IN or EN, but anyway. And thank you to him and Pearl for putting the game message on PS. Shout out to Smogon as a whole for putting it on their Twitter and advertising it throughout the week, blah blah blah. Shout out to Joey for advertising it. Like I said, dude, I wanted to make the biggest game ever. Like, I wanted to make the biggest game, period. And I don't know if we made the biggest game, period. I feel like it came close. If I forgot to shout anyone, NJMP, he made a trailer. I don't know if I shouted him out, but yeah, thank you all so much for making this as big as it could have been. I had a lot of fun with this, and or let's go, baby. All right, peace.